Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega-7 floated silently in the void between Neptune and Pluto. Communications specialist Marcus Rivera had been tracking routine solar flares when the unusual transmission cut through the cosmic static. The signal was unlike anything in human databases, filled with harmonic frequencies that seemed to carry emotions within their mathematical patterns. Marcus replayed the 47-second transmission 3 times before his hands began shaking. This was not natural phenomena or human technology. This was first contact, and whoever sent it was screaming for help across the stars. Within an hour, the transmission reached Earth's Unified Defense Command. Fleet Admiral Victoria Stone stood in the war room, her silver hair reflecting the holographic displays showing star charts and alien signal analysis. At 62, she had commanded humanity's space forces through the Mars colonial wars and the Belt pirate conflicts. Her weathered face showed the strain of decades protecting human interests, but her steel blue eyes remained sharp and focused. The translation team worked frantically through the night. Dr. Nathan Cross, humanity's leading xenolinguist, had spent his career preparing for this moment. The alien language used complex harmonic progressions that challenged every linguistic theory, but gradually patterns emerged. Mathematical constants served as anchors, allowing the translation matrix to decode the desperate message. The transmission originated from the Proxima Centauri system, just over 4 light-years from Earth. The senders identified themselves as the Zephyrian Collective, a peaceful civilization of crystalline beings who lived in harmony with their world's natural resonances. They were under attack by something called the Korthak Empire, a militaristic species that conquered worlds to harvest resources and enslave populations. The Zephyrians had heard human radio transmissions for decades, learning about human history and culture. They spoke of humanity as the Iron Children of Soul, beings forged in the fires of conflict who had learned to turn violence into protection for the innocent. Their message was heartbreaking in its simplicity. 3 billion Zephyrians faced extinction, and they were begging the unknown humans for help. Admiral Stone read the translation twice before making her decision. The Galactic Federation, mentioned briefly in the message, had refused to intervene. The Korthak Empire was too powerful, they claimed, and the risk of escalation too great. It was a familiar pattern from human history, the strong preying on the weak, while those with power stood aside. Fleet Admiral Stone activated the emergency protocols. Within 6 hours, the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet began preparations for humanity's first interstellar military deployment. 12 dreadnoughts, 30 cruisers, and countless support vessels prepared to carry Earth's answer to the stars. Humanity would not stand idle while innocents died. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderbolt, watching the massive fleet assemble around Earth's orbital shipyards. The sight never failed to inspire him. Dozens of human warships, bristling with weapons designed through centuries of conflict and innovation. Morrison had earned his command during the Titan Rebellion, where his tactical brilliance saved thousands of civilian lives. The Thunderbolt was humanity's newest dreadnought class, 2 kilometers of advanced armor and weaponry powered by fusion, reactors that could light up a small city. Its crew of 8,000 represented the best of human military tradition, volunteers from every nation and colony who had sworn to protect innocent life wherever it might be found. Lieutenant Commander Diana Price, Morrison's tactical officer, approached with the latest intelligence reports. Her dark eyes reflected the tactical displays as she briefed him on Korthak capabilities. The enemy ships were massive, some reaching 5 kilometers in length, but their design suggested overwhelming force rather than tactical sophistication. The Korthak Empire had been expanding for centuries, crushing peaceful civilizations that couldn't fight back. Their ships were built like flying fortresses, designed to intimidate and destroy through brute force. They had never faced an enemy that could match their aggression with superior tactics and technology. Engineer Chief Robert Kim worked frantically in the Thunderbolt's engine room, fine-tuning the ship's hyperspace drive for the longest jump in human history. Kim was a genius who had revolutionized human space travel, reducing hyperspace transit times by 40% through his innovations. His modifications would be crucial for the fleet's surprise arrival at Proxima Centauri. Communications Officer Jennifer Walsh monitored transmissions from the Zephyrian homeworld. The alien signals were growing weaker and more desperate with each passing hour. The Korthak bombardment had intensified, and orbital cities were beginning to fall. Time was running out for 3 billion innocent beings who had never known war. Until the Empire found them, Admiral Stone broadcast her final orders to the assembled fleet. Her voice carried the weight of human history as she spoke of duty, courage, and the responsibility that came with strength. Humanity had clawed its way from tribal warfare to interstellar civilization through determination and the willingness to stand against impossible odds. The Third Expeditionary Fleet represented the culmination of human military evolution. Every ship carried weapons forged from the lessons of countless conflicts, crews trained through generations of warfare, and the collective will of a species that refused to bow to tyranny. They were the Iron Children of Sul, and they were going to war. Captain Morrison felt the familiar mixture of anticipation and determination as the fleet prepared for hyperspace. They were about to write the first chapter of humanity's galactic legacy, not as conquerors, but as protectors of the innocent and defenders of freedom throughout the stars. The Third Expeditionary Fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system with the precision of a closing fist. Captain Morrison gripped his command chair as the Thunderbolt shuddered from the dimensional transition, while around him the bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency to bring all systems online. The tactical display painted a grim picture. Over 300 Korthak vessels filled the inner system, their massive forms silhouetted against the burning remains of Zephyrian orbital cities. The enemy ships were even larger than intelligence had suggested, kilometer-long monstrosities bristling with heavy weapons designed for planetary bombardment rather than ship-to-ship combat. Lieutenant Commander Price analyzed the enemy formations with a predator's focus. The Korthak fleet was scattered throughout the system, confident in their overwhelming numbers and the lack of any organized resistance. They had grown complacent through centuries of easy victories against defenseless civilizations. Admiral Stone's voice crackled across the fleet communication network from her flagship, the UES Defiant. Her orders were clear and decisive. They would hit the enemy with everything they had before the Korthak could organize a response. Surprise was humanity's greatest advantage against such overwhelming numbers. The first wave struck without warning. Human missiles, launched from maximum range, tore through space at relativistic speeds toward the largest Korthak vessels. The enemy shields, designed to deflect primitive energy weapons, proved inadequate against kinetic penetrators traveling at 20% of light speed. 3 massive Korthak dreadnoughts died in the opening salvo, their hulls cracking like eggshells as human weapons punched through armor that had never faced such devastating firepower. The explosions lit up the system like new stars, sending shockwaves through the scattered enemy fleet. Captain Morrison watched the tactical display with satisfaction as his weapons officer, Commander Lisa Park, coordinated the Thunderbolt's missile barrage. Park was a tactical genius who could calculate firing solutions in her head, and her precise targeting was turning Korthak ships into expanding clouds of superheated gas. The enemy response was swift, but poorly coordinated. Korthak vessels began converging on the human fleet, their plasma cannons charging for what they assumed would be another easy victory. They had never faced an enemy that could match their firepower with superior technology and tactical doctrine. Engineer Kim's modifications proved their worth as the human fleet danced through the enemy formation at impossible speeds. The Thunderbolt twisted and dove between enemy fire, its enhanced engines allowing maneuvers that the massive Korthak ships couldn't match. Human ships fought like wolves against lumbering giants. Communications Officer Walsh intercepted Korthak battle transmissions, the translation software revealing their growing panic and confusion. The Empire's forces had expected to face primitive defenders armed with energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. Instead, they found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered by technology they couldn't comprehend. The battle raged for 6 hours across the entire system. Human ships struck like lightning, appearing from hyperspace to deliver devastating attacks before vanishing again. The Korthak fleet, built for overwhelming helpless opponents, found themselves being systematically destroyed by an enemy that fought with the accumulated wisdom of centuries of human warfare. The Zephyrian homeworld sparkled like a jewel against the darkness of space, its crystalline cities creating harmonious music that resonated through the planet's atmosphere. Captain Morrison watched from the Thunderbolt's observation deck as rescue shuttles descended toward the surface, carrying medical supplies and humanitarian aid to the survivors. 3 days had passed since the human fleet's arrival, and the system was now secure. The Korthak Empire's invasion force had been completely destroyed, with over 200 enemy vessels reduced to debris fields orbiting the system's outer planets. Not a single human ship had been lost, though several bore the scars of battle. Lieutenant Commander Price coordinated the relief operations with characteristic efficiency. The Zephyrians were a fascinating species, tall, elegant beings whose crystalline bodies resonated with their world's natural frequencies. They communicated through harmonic patterns that created music as beautiful as it was complex, and their gratitude toward humanity was overwhelming. Chief Engineer Kim worked alongside Zephyrian technicians to repair the damaged orbital cities. The aliens' technology was based on harmonic resonance and crystal matrices, completely different from human engineering, but surprisingly compatible. Kim's natural curiosity and problem-solving skills made him an ideal liaison between the two. Species Elder Resonance Kai, the Zephyrian leader who had sent the original distress call, met with Admiral Stone aboard the Defiant. The alien's crystalline form chimed with musical tones that the translation system converted into words of profound gratitude. The Zephyrians had listened to human radio transmissions for decades, learning about human culture and history through music, literature, and scientific broadcasts. The meeting between the two species marked humanity's first diplomatic contact with an alien civilization. Admiral Stone spoke of human values, the protection of the innocent, the right of all beings to live free from tyranny, and the responsibility that came with strength. The Zephyrians resonated with these concepts, their harmonic communication, creating music that expressed emotions beyond words. Communications Officer Walsh established permanent communication links between Earth and the Zephyrian homeworld. The exchange of knowledge began immediately. Human military technology and medical science in return for Zephyrian harmonic engineering and crystal matrix computing. Both species would benefit from this partnership. The liberation of the Zephyrians sent shockwaves throughout the local galactic region. Other civilizations that had suffered under Korthak oppression began sending their own messages to Earth, asking for protection and alliance. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as liberators. Captain Morrison walked through the Thunderbolt's corridors, observing his crew as they processed the magnitude of what they had accomplished. These Men and women, drawn from every corner of human space, had just fought humanity's first interstellar war and emerged victorious. They had proven that human courage and determination could triumph over impossible odds. The Third Expeditionary Fleet began its journey home, carrying with them the knowledge that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had found allies among the stars and enemies that would require constant vigilance. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but humanity had proven they belonged among the stars. 6 months after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, the Sol system buzzed with unprecedented activity. Massive construction platforms orbited Earth and Mars, building the ships and infrastructure necessary for humanity's expanding role in galactic affairs. The success at Proxima had attracted dozens of alien species seeking alliance and protection. From various threats, Admiral Stone stood in the expanded war room of Earth Defense Command, studying holographic displays showing the local galactic region. Red markers indicated Korthak Empire territories, while green showed worlds that had requested human protection. The map revealed a complex web of alliances, conflicts, and opportunities that would define humanity's future among the stars. Captain Morrison had been promoted to Commodore and given command of the newly formed Fifth Fleet. His flagship, the UES Liberator, was twice the size of the Thunderbolt and incorporated Zephyrian harmonic technology alongside human weapon systems. The marriage of human and alien engineering had produced ships more powerful than either species could build alone. The Zephyrian homeworld had become humanity's first major alien ally. Their crystal cities now housed human diplomatic missions and research stations, while Zephyrian harmonic engineers worked in human shipyards throughout the Sol system. The cultural exchange had enriched both civilizations in ways that neither had anticipated. Lieutenant Commander Price, now promoted to full commander, briefed Morrison on the latest intelligence reports. The Korthak Empire was mobilizing massive fleets in response to their defeat at Proxima. Imperial propaganda spoke of the Sol Plague that threatened their divine right to conquest, and military buildups suggested they were preparing for a major offensive against human space. Engineer Kim, now chief of Xenotechnology Integration, had revolutionized human engineering through the incorporation of alien technologies. Ships powered by harmonic resonance drives could travel faster than ever before, while crystal matrix computers provided processing power that exceeded human silicon-based systems by orders of magnitude. Communications Officer Walsh had been promoted to Director of Alien Relations, overseeing the complex network of diplomatic communications between humanity and dozens of alien species. Her department translated not just languages, but entire ways of thinking, helping forge understanding between radically different forms of consciousness. The Galactic Federation had finally taken notice of humanity's actions, sending diplomatic missions to Earth to evaluate this new species that had upset the regional balance of power. Their representatives were cautious but impressed by humanity's commitment to protecting weaker civilizations rather than exploiting them. Morrison walked through the Liberator's hangar bay, watching human and Zephyrian technicians working side by side to maintain the fleet's fighters and support craft. The site symbolized everything humanity had achieved, not conquest or domination, but cooperation and mutual protection among the stars. The future held countless challenges. The Korthak Empire would return in greater numbers. Other hostile species lurked in the galactic darkness, and humanity was still learning the complex politics of interstellar civilization. But they faced these challenges not alone, but alongside allies who shared their values of freedom and protection for the innocent. Admiral Stone's final log entry reflected on humanity's transformation from a single-world species to a galactic power in less than a year. The Iron Children of Sol had proven themselves worthy of their place among the stars, not through conquest, but through courage, compassion, and the willingness to stand against tyranny wherever it might arise.